Hi, everybody. It's Brian Mahoney, the CEO of Trend Research and the president of the OTT executive community. We're continuing in our conversations with leaders in the industry. Today, we're joined by Kieanji Williams. Welcome, Kieanji.
Hello, how are y'all?
Thank you so much for joining us today. So, Kieanji, a quick background on yourself, please.
Yes, so I'm founder and CEO of Nakx, which is an ad-supported streaming service for independent filmmakers. And it's just a streaming service for indie filmmakers to take control of their own work and monetize it.
Okay, very cool. Thank you for that. So just a background on yourself, like what gave you this idea, like, a little bit about your career to this point.
Yeah, so I always kind of I had an art past, so I've always been into entertainment and art. I actually grew up doing acting and comedic improv classes, so I was definitely around a lot of theater people. I also went to a church that was also like a performing arts church. That sounds crazy, but it was in Munster, Indiana. It's called Family Christian Center, and it's basically like these big productions, and it's also televised. So I was also not only being extras, but sometimes you could be behind the scenes and you can kind of understand the levels of the production quality. So I've always had a love for the arts. And then in 2016, I believe that was, I was doing New York Fashion Week, but I was so upset with the industry at that point. I had to clean my hands of that, and I left. I didn't want to do any modeling. I didn't want to do any acting. I didn't want to do nothing anymore. So I got into the path of Year Up, which is I dropped out of college too after attending for a week, and started doing tech. And for 4 or 5 years, that was my thing. And then I'm like, I'm actually really creative still. I can't do this. I can't sit at a desk all day doing stuff that doesn't really interest me. I have to go back to tech. And I started, not going back to tech, going back to the arts industry. And I wanted to go back to my roots. So I started going back to writing classes, acting classes, improv classes, and even film festivals. And one day I was at work and I couldn't go to a film festival. And I asked the people that attended, so how do I watch the film? And they're like, we don't really know. What you mean you don't know? It's going to be on a platform. What platform? They don't know. So I'm like, okay, so how am I supposed to watch it? Because I really wanted to. I was bummed that I missed it. I still don't know where to find it. But that kind of gave me the idea, what if there was a streaming service for indie filmmakers? Because I keep hearing filmmakers keep saying that the industry is hard, especially with streaming. The streaming is king right now. They're having issues with getting their platform on there and monetizing it. So that's kind of what gave me the idea.
That's fantastic. So let's unpack that a little bit. So you're creative, you were in front of the camera, now you're behind the camera, potentially, right? In the sort of media entertainment space. And you're an entrepreneur, you saw an opportunity like many entrepreneurs out there, and you kind of jumped on it. So what has the journey been so far? How did you get started? What's the status? When is your launch?
Yeah, I got started in 2020. It's so crazy. So my birthday is on March 11th, and March 11th, 2020 is the date in which it was an announcement of the great shutdown. So
right.
Yeah. So I filed my company literally on my birthday, and then that happened. So it was kind of a standstill around that time, but I was like, it doesn't matter. I'm still going to go through the building process and come up with my business plan, how I'm going to my strategy and everything. So I was still doing that portion. And then 2021 got a little bit better. So I had raised enough money, at least $10,000 to just start the development of the project. And so far, it's been 2 years since my initial start of development. There were some issues with communication and functionality and UI, UX changes, but definitely it finally came full circle. And now I'm preparing to get filmmakers onboarded. So that's been such a thing, but I'm still learning on the way.
Yeah, we're always learning, right? So good for you. So you've got the development mostly done. Of course, it's a continuous process, right? To
Yeah.
build the best user experience. I was on your website. It looks great. Got some content up there. Tell us a little bit about your content strategy. How are you going to source this content, license it? You mentioned independent, film studios. Like, tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, so because the platform is exclusively only for independent filmmakers, it's a shared license. So we're non-exclusive. We don't put anybody in any deals, like you can put your stuff on there or you could take it off. Like you're your own business. So where we're outsourcing is we're trying to network through going to film festivals, just doing the network and the traditional way of scouting out. Facebook, going into like filmmaker groups, and I like to like search different places and groups. Where else do I go? Reddit, YouTube is a good place just to check it out. YouTube, especially with a lot of independent creators feeling like their content is being demonetized. I feel like it's an open opportunity for me to, source them and probably snag them up. But
So not just independent studios, but also independent filmmakers, right?
yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's pretty much where I'm looking, is just, all those independent creators that are feeling like they're being shut out of the industry, or they're not having the opportunity to monetize the work that they're putting into the stuff, because not only is it money for some people, but it's time. It's a lot of time and you're expecting payout, and that's not always the case. So
you mentioned money. What is your business model? How are you going to monetize this? Essentially, how are you going to pay the bills going forward?
Yeah, so it is an ad service as well as video on demand. And we're going at $4.99 a month for exclusive content, as well as it's ad free. So people who pay don't have to get any ads. And then as well as, so the business model, there's two types of partners that we work with. So we have one which are indie partners. So indie partners are individuals with less than 10 pieces of content or entries. So we are a linear platform. So that means we have different channels that are streamed 24/7. So if you come and enter a comedy short film or something like that, we'll take that short film and we'll put it on a comedy channel with other titles by different filmmakers. Now, say if you're a person who has 10 or more, you will categorize as a network. And networks are individuals who have 10 or more. And
does that mean you get your own tile, like your own sort of sub channel on the service, or?
Correct. Yeah, they have their own channel that they can manage and put content on for themselves. And that's 24/7. I mean, yeah, that's 24/7. And it's all monetized through ad support.
Okay. And how are you getting your ad inventory?
Yeah, so for the indie filmmaker, so we take a percentage from both. So for the for the indie filmmakers, we do 20%, and then for the networks, we'll do about 30. So that way we can have our cut of that, but they will take most of their ads.
Okay. And is that about the industry norm? Is that like, it's seen, pretty much fair by both parties?
Yeah, definitely. Most platforms have did some market studies, and I would say it's pretty fair based off of like some of the metrics and some of the unfair, I will say it's unfair to indie filmmakers rulings of like the metrics, because you have to pay attention to not only ad revenue, but then watch time metrics. So I want to take into account metrics later on in the future when the technology can robust and, we do get a larger following. But right now we're only sticking with the ad model.
And how are you attracting viewers? Like, what's your strategy? Is there certain target markets you're going after? I mean, obviously you mentioned social, that's one avenue. How are you going to draw on those eyeballs for your service?
Yeah, so currently monthly, I'm here in Chicago. So every single month, I actually host like these independent film nights. So I invite local Chicago filmmakers to this event where we can screen their films. And it's not only a way to like get eyeballs on their content, but also like another opportunity for people to say, hey, we're here, and we're about to stream. This is another way to like grasp like even more contacts or connections for potential partners to convert. Yeah, so right now we're just doing those film screenings, just to not only, because the reason I'm doing that is not only just for filmmakers, but it's also about like the viewers, because I feel like a lot of times streaming services don't really promote nor make it a priority to get and push independent films out there like that. So my plan is, well, instead of like doing a regular movie night of already Hollywood produced content, we'll make it accessible for people who are not used to these films to gain access to it and have a fun night. So we host it at a bar, and it's
awesome.
a VR experience. Yeah, it's a VR bar.
A VR bar. Cool.
Yeah, VR bar.
Anybody can join, right?
Yeah.
That's super fun. So you're creating polls. So you're not just waiting for your tile, your service to get promoted, right? Because we know there's a lot of pay to play in the industry. So you're kind of creating this pull in the marketplace so that people can discover your content, discover your service, and then you kind of create this virtuous circle over time.
Yeah, and it's also physical. So when I say a VR bar, I'm sorry, is that a VR escape?
Or a VR bar, a bar that hosts VR show. Okay.
Yes.
All right. Okay.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I explained it very weird, but that's what we usually call it. But yeah, so yeah, it does have like a lot of VR headset game experiences, and it's hosted there. And a lot of people who are actually in the industry actually go to that bar. So it kind of goes together like, hey, they're naturally walking in the door anyway. So it was a good find.
Good for you. That's great. So thank you for that. So let's talk a little bit about distribution. What are your plans to get on, the connected TVs, the Rokus, all the different services? Do you have agreements in place? Are you working on that part in terms of distribution?
So not yet, but I do want to establish something with Roku. That is like one of my top goals. Is I want to get on Roku, because every time I don't have a Roku, but my mother does. And I was clicking on there and you see like the major streaming services. So I'm like, that's going to have to happen, because that would actually ensure that a lot of people are coming there naturally, so we can gain more generic viewership. So I don't have a full mapped out plan, but I know Roku is literally.
Are you listening, Roku executives? Are you guys listening to this?
Please listen.
Yeah, no, I definitely feel like that's a great platform for you. It used to be a lot easier to get your tile up on Roku. It's gotten a little bit harder, but good for you. I think that's a great distribution strategy. How about any international plans at this point? Or are you kind of more focused on the North America market?
Yeah, so I am mostly focused on North America market for the moment, but I have seen some great films come out of Ireland. It was this one, oh my goodness, I think he was from Nigeria, but I seen like multiple Nigerian films that were well produced, and I'm like, I cannot wait. But I do want to expand, but right now I do want to keep priority on the North America market.
Okay, that's really cool. Yeah, it seems like a lot's going on in Nigeria right now in terms of content creation.
Yeah, they're in Ghana. I was seeing like both Ghana and Nigeria has some really good films coming out there. So I'm definitely having my eyeball on them as a place where we can expand to later on.
Source content potentially too.
Yeah.
So let's talk about your launch plans. When's that going to happen? Your site's up. It looks good. What's the next steps for Nakx?
Yeah, so right now we're only like, I closed it off, so it is in a private, so somebody would have to have the password to actually look at it in an operable way. But I am planning for it to be in a soft launch in this spring, because right now it's on the onboarding phase right now. So I'm getting all of those contacts onboarded, and then we can start like seeing some things in this springtime.
And you mentioned analytics. I mean, once your site is populated and you've got your your viewers all figured out and stuff, what kind of insights would you be looking for as you grow out the service over time?
That's a good question. I definitely want to pay attention to my partners. I would like to see like how many contacts have I grown over a course of like a year, to see like, and I definitely want to keep track of like where did I get them from, and seeing how they were converted. Were they once customers and they converted to actual partners? And I also want to see like some of my viewerships, like the demographics there, because right now my current demographics are usually, because most indie filmmakers in that community actually only watch independent films and not big fans of like Hollywood stuff. So they're one of my target audience, college students, and low income households. But I would like to see like whom else is checking us out. I did do a test on Google, like just to see, and I seen like the South America. Like I was seeing a lot of people in South America searching and clicking onto the website. So I'm like, oh, wow, I didn't notice that. So,
Well, I mean, that's a great thing about streaming. Once you get up there, you never really know where you're going to find an audience, right? And it could be global. So good for you. That's great. So after that, and you've got your service launched, remind me again the business model. So you're going to have, it's going to be a sort of two-tier, one ad supported, one not. Is that right?
yes.
Okay. But not a traditional, like literally a fast channel, like a free ad supported. There's going to be some sort of subscriber fee. Is that right?
No, so it is fast. So
oh, it is. Okay. Okay.
yeah,
Great.
yeah,
Great,
I'm
great.
sorry. Yes, it is a fast channel. It is fast channel. So again, like anybody who has more than 10 pieces of content, they can create their own channel.
Got it. Okay.
And that will stream 24/7. And then if they only have like one short film or something and it's comedy, we'll put it on a comedy channel owned by Nakx, and then it's going to be with other comedy titles.
Okay. So you'll sort of slot it in. If there's just one title, you'll slot it into the genre or whatever the channel that it most makes sense.
Yes.
Okay. And are you planning to go to the different, film festivals this year to source content?
Oh, I'm definitely willing to. The only issue I'm running into is that a lot of filmmakers are not too sure about it because, some of the more major ones are kind of like on their roster. So I got to do a lot of like, not convincing, but we'll say convincing for now. Sure. That, this platform is worth it, and we might be new, but we're definitely trying to not stick within the traditions of how distribution has gone for years now, but we're trying something new because if you really want to get that attention, and let's try something new. Let's try to break that traditions and try something that is not in the industry right now.
Yeah, and it makes sense too. And I think you mentioned that it's non-exclusive, so it's they can try it out and see if it's a good distribution path for them. They could take the content down at some point in the future, and that's sort of how the industry is evolving. Not only for independent services like your own, but also the major players. I was just looking for content on I forget, it was like Peacock or something like that last night with my kids, and it moved off the service right to somewhere else, and so. There's not a lot of stability there in terms of relying on where to find your favorite shows.
That is so crazy. You just said that. I was literally talking about that with somebody on Saturday. And it's like, yeah, you may never know, like your stuff could be there and then it's gone. And it's like, where is the stability for filmmakers, indie filmmakers? They make up a large portion of not the indie, but the film industry. Yep. And the mere fact that there is not a lot of stability within the industry for these creators is frustrating to see. But I mean, we got to move with the market, move with the times and technology, and try something new.
So right now your focus on content sourcing is licensing. Any plans for, creating your own original content at some point in time?
I do plan to. I really do. I want to have these things where if people want to have if they have an idea, we fund it and they're able to direct it. We'll allow the person who came with the idea to direct it. And then we'll license it out and fund the production. And then I was also like, I have a lot of ideas about original content, like so many. And that's kind of where my ideal, where I really want to scale to is I want Nakx not only to be a place for indie creators, but original ideas. And I also don't want to intrude so much, because once we continue to scale, we'll have a little bit more money. And then what does that look like for indie creators? They get pushed out because we're trying to promote our stuff with our big budget. So I mean, that might be the only thing, but I would know how to like step back and like still allow indie filmmakers to be the primary focus of our promotion and advertisement.
Yeah, I mean, it's a good consideration to think about, because you do want to have that balance of running a business that's growing over time, but respecting the content creators and their independent voice.
Right. Yeah, definitely don't want to take any attention from them, but I definitely do want to plan to do some original content, at least, and bring in some indie directors and writers to give their input, because they do have so many great stories and views that the mainstream definitely is missing out on. So
yeah, for sure. And any plans to potentially go back in front of the camera? You mentioned improv, and I remember there was an improv group where I went to school, and that's got to be the hardest form of entertainment, quite frankly.
What?
Yeah, I mean, seriously, you're just, you just got to quickly come up and you got to connect with the audience and everything. Improv is hard. No, maybe not for you.
No, I think it comes so easy and natural to me, where I can do dramatics, but I do like comedic because I'm really on my feet with whatever. So I win a lot of improv stuff. So that's why I was like, it just might be natural. I don't know.
Good for you. That's awesome. Well, listen, we're almost out of time, Kieanji. Can you one of the things we like to do with these podcasts is sort of personalize the people in the industry. Maybe tell us a hobby and interest about yourself, something that our audience would find interesting.
Okay. So I was recently casted on a reality show on Facebook, and it's called the Blox, and it's hosted by MTV's competitive champion Wes Bergman, and he is basically putting us to the test. So 60 startup companies come together and we learn like some basic business stuff, but then we're put to the challenge in our own business, and we're utilizing what we've learned earlier in a competitive form. So we're actually competing for startup funding. So
wow, that's so cool. And is this an active production right now? When is it going to be released? When can we watch it?
So I filmed it in August of last year, and it did premiere already. So it's on the second episode now. So you can actually find it on Facebook on Beta Blox, or you can type in the Blox and their page will show up, and you can watch some of the episodes there. And there are previous seasons there. But if you're an entrepreneur looking for some exposure, that's the way to go.
That's cool. Now, do you know how it ends? Is it one of those deals where you know how it ends, but you can't tell anybody, right?
Yeah, I'm still under contract because it hasn't released, but I'm gonna tell y'all have to watch, because something happens.
Okay. All right. Well, you've intrigued us with a little bit of mystery there. So
yes.
Well, listen, that's all the time we have, Kieanji. It's been a pleasure. We do this podcast. We talked to a lot of folks in the industry. It's really important, I think, to stay in tune also with the entrepreneurs like yourself that are, launching new services, capturing different audiences and voices and everything. So kudos to you. We'll be following your career. Good luck. I have a new show to go check out with my kids. So want to see this mystery unfold. So thank you so much for joining us today.
All right. Thank you so much, Brian, for having me.
Awesome. Well, everybody, that's Kieanji Williams, the CEO of Nakx. This is Brian Mahoney with OTT Executive Podcast signing off. Everybody have a great day. Thank you.